Hello, everyone. Thanks for watching today. Sorry, I was trying to post this yesterday, but I had some problems with my Zoom. So today, Saturday, May the 4th. So today, I'm going to try to keep this short because I know my videos, I have so much I want to say and explain and over-explain how good some of the changes are. But I want to talk just about buyer's agents. My number one thing that I hear from agent is how I'm going to get paid if the seller is not offering a commission, or if we can't see it in the MLS, or do I have to call the sellers, or not the sellers, the listing agent, to find out if they are offering commission to them? So basically, what I'm trying to explain to buyers agents is as short as possible. You are going to, number one, have a buyer's agreement with buyers before you start showing them houses, guaranteeing you'll get paid. Done. Over. Done with. Conversations done. You are going to get paid if they buy a house. But right after I say that, when you all automatically you have a buyer's agreement saying, "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we're taking you around to houses." And in the agreement, it says, "I will charge X amount of percentage or flat fee or whatever you get to decide for your services." And the key to this, you could have your buyer write in there that they request you to always ask the seller to compensate for you, to pay you, because they don't want you to they don't want to come up with the extra money, don't have the extra money. Buyers, I don't care if I use this example. I wish, and I might do this, call up some, let's just say, some BMW dealerships and Mercedes dealerships and just high-end car dealerships, and go, "Hey, does everybody just buy your cars cash because they have the money?" They're like, "No." I go, "They lease them, they finance them." And what's the number one? How much do they put down? 50% of the car. It's a $100,000 car. They put in $50,000 car. No, you know what they're doing? Zero down, the least amount of money down, and those are people with money. So to get the myth or the thought that the buyers now, because of what's happening, are going to pay out of their pocket to their agent is false. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Buyers are going to, and the ironic thing, it's going to be the sellers. They're going to be a seller. There's going to be sellers. This is so funny. I'm sorry. I'm just going to laugh about this. We're going to have sellers who go, "I don't want to pay a buyer's agent." Okay, can we go see for houses? Yeah, let's go see houses. Oh, make sure the seller pays you. We're going to see that. We're going to see that. But to stay on topic, so this is not a 45-minute video, is that you're going to have a buyer's agreement, and then you're going to write into the buyer's agreement that the buyer is requesting to make sure the seller pays you. Done. You're guaranteed payment. You have a contract with that buyer. The buyer is putting their name on that contract, guaranteeing you. So again, I've said in other videos, the way I view this is that the buyer doesn't have to pay their buyer's agent. These whole rule changes and the way we do business is not that the buyer is going to be required to pay us. All right, this is the catch. This is not the catch. It's just the fact. It's the buyer's responsibility now to make sure we, as buyer's agents, get paid. It's the buyer's responsibility. So you have that conversation with your buyer. "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, how do you want me to be compensated?" And guess what? You get to choose now. You get to choose. Do you want to pay me? You want the seller to pay, split it, negotiation, or you just write in there, "Don't find me a house unless the seller is agreeing to pay." So the next question I get from buyers agents, well, do I have to call the listing agents up to see if they're offering buyer compensations? My opinion is no. Why waste your time doing that? Because a lot of listing agents are going to do what I think should be done is just leave it all open for buyers agents have to come to the table with their buyers and ask the seller how much to pay them. That's all. It's in a contract. And we have to, as realtors, please come together and be professional. Well, I mean this, I use this word professional because when I say ethical, that means that, in my opinion, should be like our ethics, like in writing, but there is nothing in writing in our realtor ethics about this. But this is professional. If a buyer's agent comes to a listing agent and has a conversation, hey, I'm going to be sending over buyer's offer. This is what I need. This is what the buyer's requesting. Please, it's non-negotiable. Please don't play around with the commission. Don't pay. It's already been negotiated. It's already been agreed to. It's already in stone with the buyer before it came to that seller's door. And work it what you need to do. Just like if a buyer comes to you, and I explain this to our buyers agents and listing agent, just like if a buyer comes to you, hey, I have a buyer. They're they have this loan. They have a pre-approval letter. It says that right here, they need seller concessions or the loan is denied. And you go to a listing agent, and what does that listing agent do? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we have this. Their pre-approval is, so if you want this buyer, you have to pay seller concessions. If you want this buyer, or repeat that, you have to pay seller concessions, or their loan's denied, they can't buy your house. Very similar. You have to have the good conversation with your seller. So, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I have this buyer's agent already in agreement with their buyer. It's written in stone. They even sent me a picture of the part of the contract because the buyer wanted it in there, explaining that they already are in contract with their buyer's agent, that the seller has to pay the buyer's agent. And if you want this buyer, you have to pay their agents. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Okay, what's the next question? What's the next question? You know, it's on your mind. You're going to say this. Every agent says this when I get to this point. But what if? Okay, here's the next what if. Okay, you have a very, very stubborn seller. They won't pay you. They'll pay some, but not all. Now you have that conversation with the buyer. That's all. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, here we are. Here we are. Now, but you as the buyer's agent now are in control of what you want to do. You already have a contract. They already agreed to it. The buyer can't get out of it. They agree to it. You are going to earn this. They can't change it, because I think so many buyers agents, or agents when they're buyers agents, were so used to, I don't know what I'm going to get paid, and it's not guaranteed because every listing's different. This one's going to offer 2%, 1%, 3%, graduated, flat fee. The seller starts negotiating the commission because the offer is not high enough, and say, well, if you lower your fees, commission, I'll let this happen. But the great news now, when you have a buyer's agreement, you could have always done it. It's ironclad. It's done. You're gonna get paid. Now, what if the seller says, no, I'm only paying this? Then you have a conversation with your buyer. You get to decide if you want to lower your fees. If not, the buyer's just going to have to figure it out. They can't buy the house without paying you. Let me repeat this. Again, let me disclose, be a disclosure here. I'm not an attorney. This is my opinion I'm about to say about contracts. They can't go around you. We have an agreement with you. It's like a listing agreement. Imagine if you had a seller that says, I'm not paying my agent, and calls the title company up, and the title company says, hey, forget it, don't pay him. And that listing agent sends the listing agreement to, we've had to do this, not often, a handful of times in 25 years, we have a seller trying to sneak some commission out of us and cut us out somehow. Any company that's been in business a long time has had sellers do this last minute, try to convince the title company, oh no, that's wrong, it's this and that. And then good title companies call the real estate company, go, hey, by the way, the seller's over here saying, no, his commission's supposed to be this. Then we send them a listing agreement, say, no, this is exactly what they agreed to. This is what they pay us. Yes, it happens. There's sellers that get to closing and then just try to, do some Jedi mind tricks. Yeah, since it's May the 4th, on the title company in hopes that they slip one through them and cut the commission down. Now, on the buyer side, my opinion, contract. So all of a sudden, the buyer gets to closing and says, I don't want to pay my buyer's agent. We agreed the seller would pay me all this stuff. Most title companies should call the agent up and you send them over your buyer agreement in hopes that that title company will honor that agreement that was signed by the buyer and everything has to be paid. That's my legal contract opinion. I'm not an attorney, but that's what I do. If I had a buyer's agent call and said, my buyer's trying to weasel out, they're paying their commission. We have a buyer's agreement. What do? I go get that buyer agreement to the title company, make sure they see it and what you agreed to. Will we have buyers? So I hope not, but there's always going to be those kind of cases. But so that's what another thing, the point of that last part was when buyers say, well, what happens if? Well, the buyer, the way the contract's written, in my opinion, of that way, the situation, they can't buy the house without paying you. You have a contract, buyer agreement. They have to make sure you get paid this. If the seller doesn't pay you all of it, they have to come up with the difference. It's the way the buyer agreement will state, at least ours at Century 21 Homestar. And if the buyer says, well, I still want to buy this house, well, you got to figure out how to compensate me, or you as a buyer's agent get to decide if you want to lower. And of course, next thing, I know you're going to say this, a lot of agents say, oh yeah, I probably, to help my buyer out would lower it. I go, I'll give you, I agree with you. If you just sold them one or two houses, you used very little of your services and time and effort, and it was quick, and they sold the first couple of houses, and it's a decent commission. Yes, but you get the control of that. But I'll give you an example when not, because we have agents, and a lot of them out there will say this, you're like, if this is the 200th house you've shown them in the 20th offer, and it's the second year you've been working with them for 2 years, and your relationship with this buyer is on a personal level is done, and you are just keeping them alive as a client because you're like, I can't let all my time and effort go to waste. And it happens to agents like, oh my God, I can't stand these people anymore. They're driving me nuts, or they can't decide where the house is at 200 houses in a row. I'm missing birthday parties, and I'm missing my kids' soccer games. I'm missing all this stuff. And it's $100,000 house. Are you going to let them out? And they have the money. They have the money. They're just being cheap. They they have the money. It's not like you're trying. The first reaction, because I know I love all of my agents and I love 99% of their clients, but the first thing they think of is first-time home buyers, very little money, and they need help. We have buyers that don't need any help. They have plenty of money. They just are putting 5% down, 3.5% down. They're trying to get the lowest money down, and they want you to do it the cheapest possible. And if someone has plenty of money and they have the finance and they're just trying to nickel and dime you, and they've been running you around, my opinion, they get charged. They agreed to it. We're not doing anything unethical, unprofessional. We have a service that we offered. I love that we're going to have these conversations with the buyer, and they know what to expect. You know what to expect. You know what you're worth. You know what you're going to get paid. They can't buy a house within that period of time without paying you. Just like a listing. You sign a listing, say it's 6-month listing. If they sell that house within the next 6 months, you are getting paid X amount that you agreed to. Same with a buyer. Same with the buyer. Doesn't matter if the seller's the houses, if they're asking you, and even better, if it's a for sale by owner, it doesn't matter. You show them anything. You can show them anything, buy anything. I don't care. I don't care if the seller wants to pay or not pay. I don't care if this is a piece of land. I don't care if this is for sale by owner. I don't care. We've already agreed to in our contract, and you're going to make sure you're responsible to make sure I get paid somehow, either from you or the seller or someone or some source. Who cares? Wherever it comes from, they just have to make sure, hey, oh, by the way, Tony, I'm using you. I want to buy this house. The seller won't pay, but my cousin Joe over here, he has some extra money. He's going to write a check to Century 21 Homestar for your commissions for all your the buyers. I don't care. We have an agreement. You have to make sure we get paid for our services that we provided you. Figure it out in the nicest way possible. So yes, so please, the whole point of this, and of course I went a little longer than I wanted to stress to all buyers agents, the way the contract's written, as long as everybody honors that contract and that buyer honors that buyer agreement, you will get paid 99% of the time, 100% of the time. When won't you get paid? When somebody breaks the contract. And that's what the agents are worried about. Their agents, my buyers are going to break the contract. But yeah, have a contract with them. They should honor it. And I'm please, I promise you, a majority of buyers will. You know why? Because they want your services. They want you to do all the great things you do for them. The showing them houses and the market analysis and getting in your car and working with them from today till whenever it ends. We're not just door openers. We're just opening a couple doors and they buy a house tomorrow. Every buyer's agent has stories of working with buyers for months and years. And you're going to guarantee the payment and they're going to be okay with it. They agreed to it. They're okay with it. And now it's your job to get the help in the negotiations to make sure the listing agent knows that and the seller understands that. And please, anybody out there, any agent out there, doesn't have to be just Century 21 Homestar agents. If you are one of them, if you are a listing agent after these changes and don't understand and what to say to explain to sellers how to, and if you get a seller that says, I refuse to pay buyer's agents before they see an offer, please call me. I'll give you the talking points. Do I 100%? Will I tell every seller you have to make sure you pay a buyer's agent? No, I won't say that because there might be scenarios where they don't pay a buyer's agent. The buyer's agent is the buyer. I don't want you to pay me anything because I'm the buyer. And then I'll give you the extreme seller. You 100% will pay if you pick this buyer, a VA buyer. You're going to pay for their agent because they can't get the loan. So if you ever want a veteran that gets a VA loan, you're 100% going to pay. And then there's 100% you won't pay. It's probably a buyer's agent. That's a buyer themselves. They probably not go, hey, pay me this so I could earn this income and pay income tax on it. No, they'll do whatever else they can. So those are extremes. But I will tell you that you got to be open up to everything because you don't know what's coming. So that's another thing. Sorry to say this, but it goes along with buyers agents, is that you don't worry about the mindset of the sellers before you even know if they're going to buy the house. Just show them houses. Don't bother yourself if you call the listing agent. That's my opinion. You could call if you want just to say, hey, is a seller open to that? If you want to try to save yourself some time, but I wouldn't stop going to see a house that your buyer will love because you already are guaranteed payments. So when you submit an offer on a house that the buyer says, I love this house. And what if the seller says, and unfortunately, there's a listing agent that let the sellers run all over them saying, I refuse to pay a buyer's agent no matter what. I don't care what they offer me. I'm not paying a buyer's agent. You got to go to your buyer. Now what? We got a buyer's agreement. How are we going to compensate it? But we got a really stubborn seller that just one of those people that just understands that they're shooting themselves in the foot. So hopefully that made some sense, but remember, always reach out to me, call, text, email me anytime. I'll be putting you on my schedule. Text is best. And, Facebook messages. I get so many different messages from different places. I don't really watch those as much because I got so many other things going on and too many notifications, but reach out. You got my phone number and my Facebook. information if you want. I talk to brokers and agents all across the country daily. So if you can, go to my website that connects to my calendar, tonytalk.net. Sorry, my phone's going there. So tonytalk.net, and goes right to my calendar, and you can pick a spot and just make sure you put a little description in there. It says, please let me know what you want to talk about, what topic, and I'm happy to talk to you. That's it. Have a great day, great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.